and welcome to A Balanced Life. I'm so glad you're here with me, creating community around self care. I'm Patricia, and I started this channel not too long ago because I was looking for this connection, this community to help me as I've reached my 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. For those of us who are over 50, self care is a little bit different than it was before we were 50. We're aging, and if we're lucky enough to have made it this far, then we've learned a lot and we've experienced a lot. But that doesn't mean the best is over. I like to think the best is yet to come. And so, am I going to be prepared mentally, physically, and emotionally to meet this wonderful life that's waiting ahead for me? It's a different road than we've been on, but it doesn't mean that it's not one full of vitality and excitement. And if you're already facing some health challenges, it's something I've faced, then these moments become more precious. And maybe on the days that we were hopeful that we'd have more energy and we don't. Well, are there ways that we can meet those days that help us thrive a little bit, not just survive? So I started this channel because I was looking for community, as I said. I was looking for connection. When I came to YouTube and I typed in self-care, most of the things that came up, specifically for women over 50, was about our skincare and maybe what we eat and what we wear. I love that content. I think it's fun. I think it's informative. I think it's helpful. I was looking for something that helped me from the inside out. So less about my exterior and more about my interior. And so when thinking about how to create this channel and hopefully community with you, I thought about the values that were important to me and who I am as a person and who I want to continue to grow into be, and how I want to preserve my autonomy, my voice, and encourage you to have a voice as well. That's something that I find for those of us as we age, if we're not careful, we can become the next silent generation. But we've got lots to say, we've learned a lot, we have lots to share, and maybe not everybody wants to hear it, and that's fine. But I want to hear it. I want to hear about your experiences. I want to know what's giving you joy. I want to know what's supporting you, and so that I can learn from you and maybe incorporate some of your practices into my day. And in sharing those back to you, together we'll have this wonderful sense of community. Connection, though, connection is what's really at the heart of this. And I mentioned reflection, and I mentioned values. And in a previous video, we talked about boundaries. But connection is really at the heart of self-care for me. And for me to want a genuine connection with you and to create this genuine community together, I have to be authentic. I have to show up as my real self. There are no filters, what you see is what you get. And, YouTube can feel a little cringy when you're doing it, that's for sure. But, I'm just excited to create this together and to create this sense of community. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the importance of connection and the importance of community. When we're raising little ones, or if we had people in our lives during different times who have needed something from us, it's been important for us to be there for them. That helps us solidify a strong connection. We know that for young children, having one trusted adult in their life can make a difference to the outcome of their lives as they grow and mature into adults. Well, now that we're those mature adults, I have to say I need that one trusted friend as well. So relationships have become really important to me. And am I meeting people where they need me to meet them, and in a way that works for me and my needs as well? In a previous video, we talked about boundaries, and I encourage you to go back and look at that video, because we really dig into why it's important for us to have boundaries and how to create them. But in a nutshell, boundaries are not about keeping people out. All right. We're not trying to control other people. We're just trying to understand how much we can give of ourselves before it's too much. And so before we delete our own resources and then end up not having enough for ourselves. So we won't go into any more than that, but boundaries come up in relationships is, it's a two-way street. So am I giving what I can in a relationship, but also am I allowing someone else to give to me so I can receive as well? It's a wonderful thing about being this age. Some of us are retired, some of us are still working. Regardless, we're looking and wanting meaningful relationships in our lives. Maybe you live alone, and so having a meaningful relationship, friendship, or friend group outside of your home is really important. Maybe you have people still in your home, a spouse, children, or older family members who are living with you. And are those relationships healthy? And if they're not, are there ways that you can protect yourself and look after yourself during maybe some challenging days? And so we do that with boundaries, and we do that with our voices and with the choices that we make. But it's not always possible. So then we have to find community outside of our home. So having connections, though, is important for us socially. It's important mentally and emotionally, and it can also affect our physical health. In a previous video, I gave an example from Mel Robbins, who was speaking with her mother-in-law who's in her 80s, and she has a friend group that she walks with. And the friends are all in their 70s, so they're 10 years younger than she is. And she walks with them because she doesn't have people her age who are still walking. So going on nice long afternoon walks, maybe even gentle hikes. And in the previous example when I spoke about it, I was really talking about physical health. But there's something else that's happening for her. When she goes on these hikes with these younger people, she's feeling vital. She's having wonderful connection. She's out in nature, but she's feeling a part of a community. They're important to each other. She knows that she's important to them, and she certainly feels that they are important to her. I have a book club. Now, my book club started meeting in around 2018, so we're getting on to almost 7 years. And in our 7 years, we have read 3 books. Now, I joined the book club thinking we were going to be reading books, and that's how we all came into this book club. But what has happened over time? Well, COVID happened, life circumstances changed for many of us as we're getting older, children needing us more, we're caregiving elderly parents, retirement or work promotions, so much going on. But what we have maintained is a very strong text messaging connection. And I didn't know how much I needed that group until I went through something challenging and they were there for me. Messages, flowers, food, right? That's how we show up for each other when we have community. So that's why community is important, regardless of how unorthodox it may seem. So socially, it's wonderful to get out and connect with people. Do you have a social group that you're connected with? They don't have to be active. It could be a quilting group. It could be a music group you're involved in. Maybe there's a group who meets to swim every week, once or twice a week, and you show up to be a part of that. Is there an event at your library that you can be a part of? Maybe you're volunteering at the hospital. There's a beautiful program that I'd recently heard about, and I have no idea how you get into it, and I don't know if every hospital offers it. But there are little babies that need to be held, and you can volunteer to hold a baby. I think there's something for everybody. It's so beautiful. Family farms need help. Orchards. Do you love to pick fruit and root around in a garden and it's not yours and you get to leave it when you go home? That might seem like a silly example, but the point is, wherever you are in your life and wherever you are in the country or the world, there's somebody who could probably use your help and your skills and your expertise. If you've retired, but you're still feeling you want to be engaged in something, being a part of a nonprofit can be very rewarding. Now, it can feel intimidating to call up just a random organization and say, hey, I'm interested in volunteering. And maybe, offering to sit on their board of directors might be a bold first step. And if you want to do that and can do it, you should. Those of us, though, who maybe need more of a gentle entry into something to volunteer would just go to that nonprofit on a day that they're having a volunteer drive and offer to volunteer. There's a program in our community around hospice, and every Thanksgiving, the Hospital Foundation here donates dinners, Thanksgiving dinners, to families who are in hospice care. And so volunteers drive the food around a couple days before Thanksgiving, drive these boxes full of food to make sure that those families have a home-cooked Thanksgiving meal. Now, yes, the outcome of that is beautiful and important and impactful. But what happens to you as the volunteer? You have a sense of connection. You understand your community a little better. You've helped somebody else, so maybe you feel good around that too. It hasn't been a big amount of time invested or energy. It's been in a specific time frame. Everything's laid out. You're just helping with the doing. So there are a lot of ways to feel connected to your community or to something outside of yourself and your home. It doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time. But for those of you who are maybe skilled accountants, let's say, or you're good at business, or as I said, you've got computer skills, just whatever your career was, and now you're retired, those are valuable skills that any organization would be thrilled to have. Now, maybe there's a hobby you've been putting aside. Maybe you were a musician and would love to come back to learning how to play an instrument. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to play bridge or mahjong or any kind of, euchre. Maybe you'd love to be a part of a group that gets together to play cribbage and backgammon. Again, those are wonderful ways to find connection. Some of us, though, are not able to leave our home as readily and as we would like. So we can look for those connections online. I have another friend. Yes, I've got lots of wonderful friends. I have another friend who, during the pandemic, took up needlepoint. And she joined a Facebook group and now is connected to people all over the world who share her love of needlepoint. And she's become enriched by those connections. They encourage her. She learns new ideas, and they've inspired her to keep going, and she's become very good at her craft. Most importantly, though, she knows that there's an online community of support there for her, specifically around her hobby. Do you have somebody you can call, somebody you can text when you're feeling lonely or you're in some need? And if you don't, how can you cultivate that? It can be intimidating at our age to find a new friend. But one way I encourage you to do that is to step outside of your comfort zone. And it doesn't have to be a big step. It can be just a little slide outside your comfort zone and join a group that is doing something that you love, the kinds of things that you're interested in. Could be a hiking group. Maybe if you're in the winter, you love to ice skate. It could be an ice skating group. When you start to go and maybe step outside of yourself a little bit and join a group, you find those people who have similar interests of you, similar value systems, and you can start to make those strong connections. And maybe you find that one friend, that unexpected person who comes into your life that can bring you a lot of joy, and just as importantly, you can bring them joy. The wonderful thing about having connections, whether it's in community or one-on-one, is that you have a sense of belonging. And that's really important to us as we're aging. Unfortunately, people are coming and going from our lives now, maybe more so than they did as we were aging up to 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it's beautiful to have a sense of belonging with a group of people or an individual who understands you, who respects you, and you feel the same way about. Maybe we're creating that here together. There are some groups online. There's some YouTube channels that I really enjoy that are more about my hobbies. And again, that's one of the reasons I thought, well, maybe this channel about self-care will be a way to create community for us. I love to feel connected. I love to feel a sense of purpose. I'm curious, and that is piqued when I'm in conversation with you. When I'm thinking about what we're going to be talking about in these videos, I'm excited, as I'm hopeful that you're going to share with me and that we're going to grow and learn together. That to me feels like the best result of creating community together. So, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. More importantly, I'd love to hear from you. How do you create community? Where do you find your connection and sense of belonging? I'd love to hear any way that you do this, because if you're willing, I'll share these in future videos, and we're going to learn from each other and continue to be inspired by each other. So, have a fabulous day, and don't forget to do something kind for yourself today. So,